Well, hey there, campers. Welcome back to a brand new episode. This is your host, Erica Fett, and I'm back today with a little, I'm going to call it like a side quest. I've had a lot of people message me over the years, and one of the biggest questions that I get is, what are your favorite things or what do you suggest to watch from Shudder? And for those of you who aren't familiar, Shudder is a streaming channel where it streams nothing but horror, and we love that, right? So I figured, since the last episode was the top horror and sci-fi movies of 2023, I'm going to kick off 2024 with a little side quest, kind of letting everybody know what my top recommendations are to watch on Shudder. And I love Shudder. I think it's got a great variety of everything from, English films to films from all over the world. And I really love that. Not only does it have movies, it has series, and some of my favorite TV shows when it comes to horror. So I figured I would answer everyone's questions today with what I recommend from Shudder. Now, real quick, before I hop into the episode, thanks so much for checking out the last episode of the top horror of 2023. Since then, I wouldn't call it horror, but I've watched Saltburn, and I don't think it's like sci-fi, and I don't really consider it horror, but there are aspects in it that are pretty horrific. And anybody who's watched it probably knows the exact parts I'm talking about, but I can't get the song out of my head from the end, and so I just figured, while I'm on this kick of like good movies that I watched, I'm just gonna hop in and talk about some Shudder goodness. So with that being said, today's little side quest is going to be a quick little episode, but I figured what better way than to kind of like answer everyone's questions on, my Shudder faves than to do a quick little recap of some of my favorite things to watch on Shudder. Now, I'm not affiliated with Shudder. I'm not sponsored by Shudder. It'd be, awesome if I was, but I'm not. So this is just something that, I wanted to kind of let everybody know because I just love Shudder. So with that being said, one of the first films that I watched on Shudder that I think is, if you're in the mood for a very dark horror about serial killers, Summer of '84 has to be one of my top recommendations for what to watch on Shudder. Now, Summer of '84 is kind of like one of those, it's kind of set in the 80s, I want to say, 70s or 80s, but back then. And it follows like these younger boys trying to figure out who this killer is that's killing all the kids in the neighborhood. And it's kind of got some elements of like Disturbia, and it's really, really good, but really dark. So if you're in the mood for just a really good movie, I would say Summer of '84 is what I'd recommend right off the bat. Now, with that being said, one of my absolute favorite films on Shudder is The Dark and the Wicked. And I will say, like, I watched this movie, and The Dark and the Wicked is just an eerie, eerie movie. And I absolutely thought it was one of the creepiest movies I've watched on Shudder. And when you're watching the movie, you'll kind of notice that like the sounds in the movie are very eerie. And shout out to Joe Stockton for doing the sound on that, because I'm telling you, that movie just was so creepy and eerie. And honestly, I think it was one of the creepiest movies that I've watched on Shudder. And shout out to Joe Stockton. He's also working on the sound for A Gettysburg Haunting. So that'll be some more goodness that we get to see good old Joe in 2024. But so The Dark and the Wicked is absolutely one that I recommend. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit more lighthearted and fun, that still has to deal with like serial killers, Vicious Fun is actually a really fun watch. Vicious Fun basically follows basically like a panel of serial killers getting together kind of for like an AA meeting, but they're infiltrated by a person who isn't a serial killer, but who's there to kind of kill them. And I thought that was such a good movie. I'm waiting for a sequel on that. And Vicious Fun, please, Shudder, if anybody from Shudder is listening, please make a sequel to that, because that movie was so enjoyable. But Shudder has some great originals, and these movies that I'm all listing are just originals from Shudder. So not only does Shudder have like their own, like stock of films that they're doing on their own platform, but they do carry other movies too, like other scary movies that aren't Shudder originals. But everything that I'm talking about today is a Shudder original or a Shudder exclusive, which is awesome because it's, a great place to find some good horror. And I know it's like not Halloween, but we have to carry horror over all year, right? Like I feel like Halloween Halloween should be kind of like an all year thing. And that's why I'm like, I'm going to start the year off, even though it's cold as shit outside and it's snowing and it's raining, let's get cozy and get some popcorn, some butter popcorn, and watch some good Shudder creepy movies. So with that being said, there's a lot of other movies that I really enjoy. Like Influencer is a newer one. It came out last year. And actually that one made my list of some of my favorites in 2023. Influencer was really, really fun. And I really enjoyed the premise of Influencer. So basically, like, it's a girl who's kind of like trying to steal people's identities and kind of living them on this island. And I don't want to here's the thing is I want to give everybody synopsises, but I'm so bad. I don't want to give anyone spoilers. So, but basically, yeah, Influencer is so good. Host is also one that I really like. So if anybody's ever been like on a Zoom call, Host kind of, takes the idea of a Zoom call. And I think it came out during COVID. So like what a time to like, use that, that Zoom technology that everybody was using during COVID. But it's basically a bunch of friends getting together on a Zoom call. And the entire movie is actually the length of a Zoom call. I think it's like an hour long. So if you need something fast, but like something good, Host is basically it. Basically, this group of friends get together and they sit around and they're like doing almost like I wouldn't say like a seance, but almost like a seance over Zoom all together. And things start going a little, going sideways, and very creepy, very entertaining, and absolutely one I definitely recommend. Now, the good thing about Shudder is I always talk about the VHS movies, and bless Shudder for carrying on that legacy of having so many VHS movies. So Shudder has VHS 94, VHS 99, and then VHS 85. And VHS 85 is actually the newest one, and that one also made my list for my 2023 top horror. But if you like anthology, you like found footage types films, I really love the VHS films because they allow so many different stories and storytellers to come in and direct and do their own type of stories and kind of put them together in this like little anthology of just good horror found footage. And I'm here for it. I need all the VHS. Like, I think I need a VHS movie like every year. I'm telling you, they're so good. Now, along with the found footage theme, I would definitely have to say I recommend Deadstream. Deadstream is honestly such a fun movie and so good. I loved it. It's actually very like comedic too. So if you need like a break from after watching like Summer of '84 and you're like, man, I need something just chill, I need something like cool, Deadstream is hands down what I'd recommend. It's just such a fun watch. And, I think the directors and writers are actually a husband and wife. So shout out to them for going out there and doing that together. I love that. I do everything with my husband. So I'm like, anytime I hear like husband wife things, I'm like, yes, go out and do it. I love that. But Deadstream is actually so fun. It follows basically kind of like a fallen influencer, blogger type guy who's kind of like trying to redeem himself. And he goes to like this remote location of like a haunted house, and things start going crazy when it's actually haunted. And they just did such a fun job with that by making it spooky, making it entertaining, but also like bringing some comedy to horror. And I'm a big fan of comedic horror. I think that it's one of the, like the most underrated genres of horror. And I just absolutely love Deadstream. So like I said, if you watch Summer of '84 and after that you're like, oh man, that was dark, put on Deadstream. So along with the comedy horror, Scare Package 1 and 2 are also on Shudder. And I really like those because they kind of are like the VHS movies, not so much found footage, but they're like an anthology of stories. And they're also a little comedic. And I really love Scare Package too. I thought it was so much fun. And like I said, I like having like the break from like really dark horror from like, we go from like Terrifier and like these dark movies. Sometimes you just have to have a break and just have something fun, but also kind of like spooky too. And I think the Scare Package does a great job with that. I'm a big fan of anthologies though. So if you throw in like an anthology, hands down, I'm probably going to love it because, you can't go wrong. Like look at Trick or Treat, Trick or Treat to me is like a classic movie and it still holds its value today. So fingers crossed we still get a sequel to that too, but Now, along with the anthologies, you do also have like the Mortuary collection, which I believe it has Clancy Brown in it as well, who's like the head mortician, I think is. But he's telling like the stories, and it's like a little anthology that all comes together, and that is also really entertaining if you like anthologies. I mean, I just like it because you get like multiple stories in one, and it's like the best of all the worlds, right? Because they usually vary quite a bit, which I love. Now, I said earlier that, Shudder has, not only does it have like, American-made movies, it has a lot of movies from all over the world, which I really love. When Evil Lurks was a huge hit in 2023. And I mean, it was phenomenal. And honestly, I'm telling you, don't sleep on it. I know you have to read subtitles, but honestly, hands down worth it. I loved it. I thought it was so good. It was so eerie. And I love that Shudder has a good variety of films like that. And then with that being said, Boys from County Hell is actually, I believe, an Irish movie, and it's about vampires. And honestly, I had so much fun watching that one. Because who doesn't love a good vampire flick, right? Like, I feel like vampires can be interpreted in so many ways. And there's so many different things that you can do with vampires. And Boys from County Hell was really fun. And it's good to see like a good Irish flick out there, right? Now, I'm a huge fan of the Hell House movies. And I know I said this last episode, but Hell House Origins gave me everything I needed for a Hell House movie. If you haven't watched the Hell House movies, I think there's 4 of them now. Yes, maybe. I don't know. 4 of them. But I'm telling you, I loved Hell House Origins because not only did it make me... It was a prequel to the Hell House movies, but not only did it make me want more, it makes me want like a prequel to that. It makes me want a sequel to that. I loved it. So if you aren't familiar with the Hell House movies, basically the idea is that like there's this town that has like kind of like a portal to hell, and it's like basically kind of like in this hotel. And there are these people that kind of almost work as like a cult, and they basically try to open the gateway to hell and have these demons like get people that are like either staying at the hotel, or that were at the fairgrounds, or that were staying at this house. And it's got clowns in it. It's got a creepy piano, like little jingle. It just, to me, it's such a great watch. And I loved Hell House Origins. So definitely watch the Hell House movies on Shudder, watch all of them, and then go enjoy Hell House Origins because it's so good. Now, aside from those movies, I really enjoyed a lot of other movies. There's a movie called Hellbender, and I believe that it's based on a like almost like a family of witches. And the cool thing about that one too is how I talked about Deadstream earlier, how it's a husband-wife duo. Well, the people behind Hellbender are actually a family as well, and it's a mother and her actual daughter who are in the actual movie. And they've done a ton of other movies together, and Hellbender was such an interesting take on witchcraft and creepy stuff, and I really just love the fact that they're out there just making art together, and I love it. So hell yeah to that. Now, honestly, probably one of my favorite movies on Shudder is The Cleansing Hour, and I love The Cleansing Hour. I think it's such a good movie. It's based off of another anthology where The Cleansing Hour was a story in one of the movies, but they made an actual movie based on it. And I'm telling you, it's so good. And it honestly, it's a good, if you're liking possession movies, it's really good. It's like basically a modern day take on Possessions. Basically these kids are like together doing like a YouTube channel, and basically like this guy kind of is like in a guise as like a priest. And so they have people on and they like fake exorcisms. Well, actually like one of the times there's like an actual devil, like a demon that comes in and like possesses one of their like people, and it just, everything goes chaotic, and it's just, I loved it. But yeah, so I mean, when people always ask me what to watch on Shudder, I'm like, listen, first off, there's so many good movies, and honestly, I don't even know where to start most of the time because there's just, it's so good. But, you know, not only are there movies, there are tons of shows. So if you like Creepshow, which is kind of like almost like a Tales from the Crypt type show, Creepshow is great. The first, you can tell like over time, they've kind of really like bumped up the production value, which is amazing. But I think there's like 4 seasons. I don't know. There's quite a few seasons of it now. But if you just need something to put on and watch and just enjoy with different stories, you can't go wrong with Creepshow. They've also got Slasher, and I mean, everybody probably knows by now that I'm a huge fan of Slasher, but I can thank my friend Bobby for that, because he basically told me, like, listen, every episode of Slasher, there's going to be someone who dies every episode in this, like, horrific, like, disgusting, gruesome way, and he was not lying. I mean, it is like, it's got gore, it's got murder mystery. What else do you need in a TV show, right? But I'm such a fan of Slasher. And that last season, Slasher Ripper was so good. It was like set back in like Jack the Ripper times. And I'm such a fan of everything about Slasher. So fingers crossed for a new season this year, because I'm like trying to manifest it, like get a Slasher. There's also Boulet Brothers, which does like drag, and they have amazing outfits and costumes, and it's like horror themed. So, I mean, honestly, I really feel like Shudder has so many things to watch, but I was sitting there and I was like, man, I keep getting this question over and over and over. What do I recommend on Shudder? And I was like, I'm just going to do a quick little fun, like side quest, like episode just on like everything I love from Shudder. But yeah, so I mean, if you ever, get on Shudder and you look at all their movies, I mean, they do have other things other than their own exclusives, but it's just a bonus that they do their own movies too. But I will say, there's one movie that I know is getting remade, and I was debating on putting it on my list for what to watch on Shudder, but it's a movie called Speak No Evil. And for those of you who have watched it, you probably know. You're probably like, oh, God, that movie gave me trauma. Like, it is tough to watch. But basically, Speak No Evil is one of those movies where I feel like you either love it or you hated it. I'm going to be honest. I loved the movie and I thought it was really good, but the last 15 minutes when I knew what was going to happen, I turned it off. and anybody who's listening that watched that movie knows exactly why I turned it off. It's a little hard to watch in some places. And I'm one of those people who I like spoilers. I like to know what happened. I don't know. I'm a weirdo like that. So I'm like always like Googling, okay, what ends up happening, And I looked what happened and I was like, I don't think I can watch the ending of this movie or I'm going to be outraged. It's going to bother me. And like I said, for those of you who are listening who have watched Speak No Evil, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I mean, that is a very dark film. And I know that they are redoing it. I'm pretty sure they're doing a remake of Speak No Evil. So I'll be interested to see if they keep that ending or if they amend the ending, because, I've talked to quite a few people who are parents and they were like, there's no way. So I'm going to be very interested to see if they change anything about that. But if you want a dark movie that may make you a little sad at the end, Speak No Evil, I guess I'll put it on the list because, maybe some people loved it. I just thought it was a little tough to watch, but I'm kind of a baby about stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, other than that, though, I mean, like I said, there's tons of great movies on Shudder. And I would have to say those are my top picks for Shudder. There are some great movies. And I think that Shudder has a great variety of, very dark movies, gore movies, anthologies, comedic horror. I just think like sci-fi horror. I just think that, and honestly, there are so many movies I didn't even touch base on. I could literally go through an entire day of like going over Shudder films, but also I don't want to give away too many spoilers because I feel like I don't want to spoil any of the fun for anybody, but now, with that being said, I am working on a few episodes and for like more guests, so I'm super excited for 2024. I also am working on the next episode, being the Cryptid episode, and it's going to be the scary. Well, actually, I'm going to name it the most terrifying. We're going to be a little bit scarier. We're going to say the most terrifying cold weather cryptids. So stay tuned for that coming next week. But I just figured I kind of like the idea of like doing little like side quest episodes where I just get to kind of like talk about, fun things to watch or something new, or maybe like horror reviews of new movies. Because I mean, we all know there's so many horror movies coming out this year, like so many. And I'm so excited for it. I feel like 2024 is going to be a rockin' year for horror, and I'm pumped. I mean, we get more Art the Clown with Terrifier 3. We get more Maxine, which, I mean, who didn't love X and Pearl? Those were so good. I love those movies. So I am so ready for Maxine to come out. And then, of course, I always say a Gettysburg Haunting, but I am so beyond pumped for a Gettysburg Haunting. But yeah, so I'm I'm just ready for 2024 to get my horror fix. But now, with that being said, I'm really excited because I did start a Patreon. You can follow for free. And I'm having patrons vote for the next Cryptid episode that drops in February. And so far, the Mothman is winning with the Flatwoods Monster coming in close second. But I'm really excited to bring like more, I really would love to like open MetaZoo packs and do like behind the scenes of that, because for those of you who aren't like aware of what MetaZoo is, it's basically this card game that is based on cryptids and urban legends and spooky events and spooky places. And I just honestly, I don't know how to play it because when anyone tries to explain any type of card game to me, it's like that meme of the person's head just like melting. That's me. I know how to play Hearthstone, and then I'm like, that's my threshold for like learning. But MetaZoo is amazing, and I have so much fun because they have they have the Mothman, they have cards with the Jersey Devil and Bigfoot. I mean, I opened a couple card packs the other day, and I had Bigfoot, and I was so pumped. But yeah, so like that's my hope, is do some like side quest stuff and just kind of like dive in this year with some cool stuff and just kind of like rock out, right? Now, with that being said, if you are, wanting to, feature one of your stories on one of my Campfire Tales episodes, make sure to submit your story at campcryptidpod.com. There's a little contact section where you can send in your own little story. And then I try to do them like once every couple months, but do a little Campfire Tales episode where I go through and I read everyone's like creepy stories and, creepy experiences and try to like go through and figure out what the heck happened, But if you'd like to have one of your stories featured, make sure to go to that little contact section on my website and submit your story there so I can read it. And I have so much fun reading all the creepy stories. It's my favorite. But yeah, that's my Shudder. That's my official Shudder list of 2024. And like I said, there's so many other movies I didn't name, but they're still amazing movies. But these are some pretty rockin' movies. So if you need a good weekend to just sit down and watch them, I highly recommend it. And hey, if you do watch any of these and you end up liking them, please let me know so I know I'm giving good advice. There's nothing worse than if I give bad advice, right? But yeah, well, thanks everybody so much for hanging out for a quick little episode. Like I said, I just want to connect a little bit more and, do some fun little side quests because it's fun to like, touch base on like fun, like things to watch on Shudder or, streaming services. Since, we all have like probably a million streaming services that we're paying for these days, right? 2024, right? But yeah, well, hey, everyone, I hope your 2024 is going amazing so far. I know I always say it, but I always feel like someone's pushing the fast forward button on time. I just feel like, how is it already like the 9th and the 10th of January? Like, what's going on? But yeah, hey, well, we're getting through this together, y'all. And in the meantime, go watch some good horror, go eat some good food, go enjoy life. And I'll come back in, the next episode and we're going to talk some more cryptids, some more terrifying abominable snowmen and wendigos and creepy stuff like that. So yeah, well, hey, everyone, thanks so much for hanging out for another quick little episode. I appreciate you campers so much. And until next time, y'all take care.